Hello and welcome to Gazali. Today we have with us Siddhesh Gautam, who's a Delhi-based artist. Siddhesh is a multidisciplinary artist. He's a poet, he's a writer, he's a dreamer, and today he's here with us at the Museum of Goa for his first solo exhibition, which is titled We the People. So Siddhesh, thank you so much for being here. We're really happy to have you here.
Thanks, Sharda. I'm also always happy to be here, not just in the place, but not just in the city or the state Goa, but also at Moog, where you all are amazing people doing amazing work. I'm very glad that I'm a part of Moog now.
Thank you. So, Siddhesh, I would like to start by understanding. So, you said, when you were doing your education in India, you felt a little uncomfortable to share things about your own life. But it was only in Milan where you first discovered yourself a little bit, and it was the first time you drew Ambedkar. So, can you tell us a little bit about how this journey of discovering yourself happened there?
Yeah, so it's mostly it's basically based on my childhood experiences. And I remember that, when I was in fourth standard, I was in a birthday party of a classmate of mine. And there they had this discussion about, a surname of a girl who was not present there. And they were discussing, because her surname is just an alphabet. And they were like, she must be from a scheduled caste community or an Adivasi community. But they did not say it in the constitutional terms. They said it in a way of slur. And that made me very afraid of of people around me, that that I could also be identified like that and I'll be hated for that. I think those kids, my classmates, installed the first fear inside me, even though I come from a very unapologetically Ambedkarite family. So there has always been images of Ambedkar or Buddha around the house, but this has always been but it installed some sort of fear. And also when I was when I went to the schools, even though I studied in most of the Catholic schools, I was very comfortable with my Catholic teachers who were fathers and sisters. But then again, the teachers who were from the Hindi community, they always came with their surnames, and they always had these Brahmanical things to install, which was not the constitution of my household. Like, we do not step inside our houses by keeping our slippers out, or there is no constitution for eating what can we eat and what can we not eat. So I thought that if these people will know about what I eat, or what are the constitution of my family, they might not feel good about me. And since I used to sort of enjoy going to school, so I used to go play, not just study. I used to study. I loved studying, but also all the other things that were there in school, playing piano, playing different sorts of sports, playing part in theater, and reciting poetry, participating in quiz contests. So very little kid who was me, I thought that my caste will come in between these explorations. And I had seen it from the way my teachers would, because these students identified that girl for me also. I never thought that because of a surname somebody has a caste. And I started to realize that how teachers also used to discriminate with her, how teachers would always be very rude to her. So I thought that teachers are not to be trusted. And so the same thing happened in school, in colleges. Again, when I went to design schools, everything was about rasa and bhava, everything was about Krishna and Shiva. You had to find all the rasas, all the all the aesthetics in these mythological stories, which I had not much idea about, or I had studied in a very different way. So I was not able to understand the day you enter the National Institute of Design or National Institute of Fashion Technology, it is very Brahmanical. It is always about this bhakti, always about some gods. So I felt very much away from it. There was nothing that represented my history. It felt like my people have never produced art, or my people have never did design or anything. So because of that reason, it kept on installing fear, and increasing the fear. And for some reason, when I went abroad, I felt that these are strangers, and I'll be going back to my country. And at that point of time I was like, maybe I'll never come in this country again. So I'm not going to meet them, or it's there is nothing much dependent, so there is not too much risk to tell these people anything. So to my semiotics teacher I told about where I come from, and it was really great that somebody understood, somebody who's not of my skin color, who is not of my religion, who is not even aware of my country as much, was able to understand me and was able to, not just understand me and talk to me about it, but also show me relevant works of students and artists who have come from oppressed societies from across the world. So I think that day was also the day that I accepted myself as a human being of this global earth. It was difficult for me to accept myself as a human being of this country because of the system that has been made. But now, with this instance, I suddenly became a global citizen, and suddenly all my inferiority complexes or my shame, vanished, because I saw amazing things that people have done from across the globe. And that was the day that I realized that there is nothing to be ashamed of, and I come from the community that has actually produced all the art and craft of this country. It was really sad that the National Institute of Design, that was my master's college, they had this booklet on which the foundation of NID is, which is called India Report. And India Report talks about this ghada, which is omnipresent in India, and the design changes as per the demography and other things. But they've never talked about who made that ghada, who made that pot. So the person was invisibilized in the foundation of National Institute of Design. So I think because of that loose end, it always was carried out like a Brahminical, storytelling, or a Brahminical way of, knowledge sharing. So I think, in Milan, it was all shattered, because now, I do not have to find rasas in just 9 rasas. Now I have become, somehow, I have become free. And that was also the time that I drew my first Ambedkar. I was always inferior about even drawing Ambedkar or seeing Ambedkar. But that time I was like, I publicly accepted him, and and I drew him for the first time. And that was the time that I started to live a life which was free, at least for me.
So, while you started reading more about your history, and while you, like you said, there are so many individuals who are deleted from the mainstream history. So, who were these individuals? Who were these people that you discovered and that we see a lot, that you bring to life in your own artwork? So, who were these people, and how did they inspire to continue this art practice?
So these are basically, so I started to, I think the first point of my, uh, exposure to the anti-caste word was through Dr. Ambedkar. And because he was always present, it was easier for me to, go through Dr. Ambedkar. And when I started to read Ambedkar, he himself starts to, in his writings, he starts to talk about these different people who lived in different time eras. So I started to read about those people. So I started to read about people starting from Buddha to the Middle Times, where the Enlightenment era was happening and was stopped because of religious intervention, which is the Bhakti period. I would not call it Bhakti period, because it is not all about Bhakti period. So he talks about Kabir, he talks about Guru Ravidas, Sant Tukaram. He talks about Gadke Maharaj. He gives credits to Phule couple, that they started this spreading of education. Dr. Ambedkar, even though he started his education by sitting outside the classroom, he was able to go to Columbia because of hundreds of years of struggle that other people have done in different parts of the country, because of which his father was able to become a subedar in an army. Whoever army is, it is, but at least he got this dignity of being in the army, and because of which Dr. Ambedkar got these opportunities to study abroad and to expose himself to the world. I think these are the people, and through these I also started to question that where my people are missing, because there are attributes of the history. There is a political history. We are invisibilized from political history. So I started to figure out who are these political figures, from the current times, Jignesh Mewani, Mayawati, Kashiram, and going back to the times of Baba Sahib Ambedkar and Phule and all, and then started to work on find out who are the people who have been writing, and even though if we don't even have to go very far, even in the Bhakti period, in the Buddhist times, there were so many people who were writing. And it's just their writings have not been understood by the people or have not been accepted by the people because it is either considered impure or it is considered, subaltern or something like that. So I think, but I started to find out who these people are. I started to find out who these invisible people are who have, made what design is in India especially. So when we talk about Indian design, we talk about Indian textiles, we talk about, Indian furniture, we talk about Indian leather industry. And I realized that all these people have been my ancestors or the ancestors of the lower caste people who have, done, interesting work, problem solving solutions, in the in terms of design and solution findings. And I started to find that even though I was orphaned from history in my school and in my colleges, but my history exists, and it's not that I just I started to believe or I started to deny this concept that I come from somebody's foot or out of somebody's body. I do not come from somebody's body. I come from the physical relation that my father and my mother had, because of which through science, through biological processes, I have taken birth. And I know that in this whole universe, I am a small speck of dust. And I realize that, and I think that realization of being minuscule to the macro also gives us this reality of life, that how we are all so similar and yet so so unimportant, and we give so much importance to ourselves, we give so much importance to the things that we believe in, to the culture that we believe in, to the civilization that we have made. I don't think anybody from any other planet cares about what is happening to us. And this earth will not take much time to just get rid of us like it has gotten rid of many species in the past. So I think it also, the whole reading about these people also took me to the ground. This was the time I was only moving towards a modernization which was very capitalistic in nature. But through anti-caste movement, I realized that there is a community that we live in, and we are dependent on each other. Not just human beings, we are dependent on the trees, all the flora and the fauna. We are dependent on the soil is also dependent on us. And so this interdependency is something that is global. And I think this actually break free of me of this from this human ego and everything that was stopping me from learning new things. So I started to become more open to the ideas, and I started to read about people who were like, there's this very interesting thing that that people say that Dalits have always been Britishers' stooges. And I started to learn about people like Uda Devi, who was one of the best snipers during the mutiny of 1857 or the first war of independence. I reject to call 1857 as the first war of independence, because if there was a first war of independence, it was done by the Adivasi people in the late 1700s in the form of Santhal Hul in it. And I think that freedom movement was a more holistic movement. It was a movement against not just the people who were who were foreigners and were in our country, but it was also against the zamidars who were killing the peasants, who were oppressing the peasants. So I think learning about these histories, which even though have been taken away from our course books, started to give me this confidence that maybe I do have a responsibility in this short time period. Maybe I do have a responsibility, or I do matter for these people who are alive with me at this time. In 2024, the amount of people who are aspiring to study, or who are aspiring to become artists, or who are aspiring to do anything, to have a dream is is a privilege. And I think I'm here only to share that, we all can dream as these people have dreamt, and we all can achieve as these people have achieved, even though they will not document us, but we know that they will not. So now we will start documenting ourselves. So have the courage to just go out there and believe that this earth is yours as much as it is of anybody else.
Lovely. I mean, so you are basically reclaiming history. You're helping us imagine, like reimagine history. You're helping us visualize the anti-caste movement in a very new light, and especially the freedom movement, where the contribution of the Dalits have been completely neglected in that sense. So your art talks about all of these things. So if you have to summarize, like you use art as a weapon to do what? What is the message that you're trying to get out to the people through your work?
I think I only use art to fulfill this. I don't know if it is a dream, if it is too idealistic dream or something, of basic equality, liberty, and fraternity. Which it is a dream that has been, seen by human beings. I think way back when we started to make animals or plants our slaves. And I think freedom is something that human beings have been searching for, like they have been searching for the knowledge, like in the universe, in the micro and macro level. Freedom is something that has been, questioned again and again in different time periods, and has been defined again and again in different time periods. I think it is a process which is a continuous process. The process does not stop in 1950. It did not stop in 1947. It did not stop when when the Mughals came to India. It did not stop when Ashoka was started his big empire. It did not stop before that when people were in the caves or staring at the fire for thousands of years. I think freedom has been something that has been it's like a kasturi that that we are trying to find, and maybe it doesn't exist, but what is the point of not going behind the answers which we have not found? I think this is the whole essence of humanity, that we try to define things, we try to find answers, and for things which do not have answers, we call them gods and goddesses, and mostly gods, because it is a patriarchal society. All religions are patriarchal. And so somehow I think that chasing this dream of freedom, which was chased by Buddha, by forming Buddhism, or the Sangha, the Dhamma, or be it the dream of Ravidas, where he thinks about this concept of Begumpura, a land of no sorrows, or Maveli Nadu, where a country where there is a reign of Bali, or who is a secular leader. So I think this dream has been chased by many, even in the modern times, like Foucault, and in the current times Zizek. They have been questioning freedom. People like artists like Frida and Basquiat, they started to question freedom and understand freedom from their own perspective, from their own background, be it Mexican Frida or the Black American Basquiat. So I think freedom is something that we all have been chasing, and I think I'm not ashamed of chasing something which might not be existent, but freedom is such a beautiful concept that it is worth the chase. It is worth, even though if it is of no use.
Now I would like to talk to you a little bit as an artist. There are several artists who say that they are apolitical and that art is not about politics. What is your stand on that?
I think this whole point of people saying that they are apolitical is a political stand, because they have thought about it and said that this is political. I think that not a single stroke, not a single color can be splashed on anything without a politics. The whole point of choosing certain colors or choosing certain way of strokes or choosing a pencil or an ink or acrylic or oil also depends on your class, caste and privileges. And it is a political choice that people make. Even, if somebody is making a butterfly, it is a political choice that they have made. And you can see that so many people, especially like here in Save Mole campaign in Goa, you can see so many people from those campaigns. They're making these amazing insects and, beautiful flowers. But the politics behind it is very strong. It is not just beauty. Beauty can be replicated, can be shared, but it's not so important to create beauty, because most of the things that exists around us are beautiful by nature. So if we just start to accept beauty around us, that is good enough to see beauty every day or every hour or every second. Beauty is existent all around us. That's what nature is. I think nature is a synonym to beauty. And but I think, when we create something, we want to, make a commentary on this beauty that we have seen, or sometimes the ugliness that we see, in this beauty. Sometimes the the anger that we see, in this beauty. It's bloody. The beauty is bloody. There is, there is a lot of violence that this beauty has. And I think bringing that out is what makes us human, because a leaf is a leaf for everybody, but for every human being, a leaf can have different meaning. And I think that is the politics of those human beings. Some people will just deny looking at those leaves. That means they believe in this politics that nature is not so important for us. So every decision that we are taking, every order that we are doing at Zomato and Swiggy and everything is a political decision. If we are thinking, we are making a political choice. And similarly, it is in art. Art is not just expressing, it's not just splashing colors. Most of the people say that, I'm just splashing colors. But that whole motion that is coming, of splashing color on, on a canvas just like that is also political. And once you know that, why you are political, why you are creating something that you are creating, I think you become more important in front of you. Your work become more important in front of you. You are not just doing it for the sake of art. And sometimes I do think that, there is so much of misery in this world. What is the point of doing art? Because there are so many functional problems that we have to resolve. And I think this is where the art, comes, that, we can question, we can find these problems and then, think of finding these solutions.
Art, I think, is indeed very powerful to, make a point, make a statement. And I really think that your art is very provocative, your art is very inspirational. And we're so glad that, you are here today and that you could display your work here at the Museum of Goa. And I really hope that many people see it and get inspired as much as I am. So thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you.
And it was lovely having you here.
Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Savitri.